Few giving days have matched those at Cornell University. 4 years in, and the Cornell team has enjoyed yet another mega event.
We brought in 11,370 donors and $7.7 million. Of those, we brought in 3,477 new donors. Of those, 1,874 were student donors. So that was actually really exciting for us this year.
While Cornell's numbers are enormous, their Giving Day strategy is something that can work anywhere. To help you plan your next big Giving Day, Groundwork Digital interviewed Cornell's planners, Andrew Gossen and Nicole Cook, and assembled the following How to Plan Your Next Big Giving Day interview.
It is currently our number one tool to acquire new donors. And so, a lot of effort really goes into acquiring new donors around this effort, and then also now retaining them the next year.
Specifically, Cornell's Giving Day attracts young donors.
We saw a really huge uptick in our student donors, and that was something that we were really focusing on this year because we've seen growth in that area. So it's something that we have a lot of strategies around, and we're excited to see that growth.
Over the years, it's become increasingly clear that student groups tend to try to embed grassroots campaigns within Giving Day. And early on, that gave us all sorts of headaches because initially we only had options to give to an annual fund or an other. We started trying to provide pages that gave them some storytelling space, but that also had all of the right terminology so that the whole gift processing process would go much more smoothly. And the result of that is that the more that we gave them space to do their thing, the more inclined they are to actually grab this opportunity and run with it. So we think that the fact that we're now offering so much scope for student organizations, alumni organizations, all the size organization that probably would fall below the radar in a usual campaign, they now have their own space, and as a result, they're going out there and they're working their networks, and especially for the student groups, they're reaching out to their peers, and that's a huge driver of this.
But it's not just new donors. Cornell's Giving Day increases giving from many segments in the database.
So over the years, we have really focused it on getting new donors in the door. However, we do see that about 30% of the people who are giving are also making other gifts throughout the year. So not only is it a great way to get new donors in, but it's also a good way to deeper engage with people who are already giving. 83% of the students who retained this year from last year made their gift on Giving Day. So it seems as though, in a way, it's becoming a bit of a tradition, and it's something that people look forward to.
Now for the advice. Here is what Cook and Gossen would suggest you do to grow your Giving Day from one year to the next.
First off, to try to identify the elements of your most recent Giving Day that contributed most towards the most important strategic goals you set yourself. So in our case, we're very focused on students and young alumni. For 3 years now, athletics has had a challenge in which they're pitting athletic teams against each other on an athletics-only leaderboard, and they're competing for challenge money there. And it works beautifully for them, and those teams hit the ground running right at midnight and generate a startling amount of activity. You hear from other points of the compass on campus, it's not fair that athletics does so well. This is something that's just naturally a good fit with athletics teams. This year, for the first time, we had a similar competition with our undergraduate engineering teams. So the teams of students who do the Mars Rover challenges, the Baja Racer challenges, the autonomous underwater vehicle, we saw the exact same dynamic emerge. So it seems like that type of competition among student groups that are all of a kind works really effectively and gets them to reach out to their peer groups as well as their young alumni friends and drive giving activity. So a question we're asking ourselves is, what's the next thing like that we can fold into the Giving Day that would activate those sorts of dynamics?
The best advice? Look at Giving Day as a laboratory to test tactics you can use for annual giving and leadership annual giving and even major gifts throughout the year.
I think that's one of the things that's really fun about Giving Day is that every year we learn something new. I'm not sure we would have said that 4 years ago that we would have ended up focusing this on students. We weren't really talking to students. So I think it's just really interesting to say, not only is that where the data has pointed us in terms of that's where we've seen the most growth, that is actually becoming an organizational priority for us at the same time. Who knows what we might learn next year that might that might be really effective and work really well, that might allow us to achieve a different organizational priority.
I'd add that it's not just that could be applied to other fundraising campaigns, but also the rest of the entire operation. I remember very clearly that I think I was debriefing the trustee committee on alumni affairs about Giving Day immediately after a conversation about the alumni trustee election. And they connected the dots immediately and said, okay, you just had this tremendous success with a digital campaign with Giving Day. How can you take all or elements of that and apply it to getting our numbers back up with regard to the alumni trustee election? And they were totally right, because we're talking about big multi-channel, multi-segment integrated digital marketing campaigns, and what works in one context sure works in the others as well.
Finally, the biggest question: does the ROI justify the effort for launching an annual Giving Day?
Hey, this is very heavy lifting across the organization. Is it worth it? And so we did this ROI, in which we included all of our marketing costs, the cost for the platform, and then we tried to estimate all of our time. And it still came out that with the because so many are new donors and new donors are so costly to acquire, we found out that it's still a very good return on investment. I think we figured out it was like 15 cents on the dollar. Compared to some of our more expensive channels like paid student phoning, that's still a really good return on investment.